lives where I have amazing conversations with some of the amazing legends in tech in Australia. Right. So most people think communication training is about confidence or presentation skills, but PitchBerry seems to be attacking a harder problem. How do people perform when the stakes are high and the cost of failure is real? On these lines, Dilip, tell us a bit about PitchBerry and what's the problem that you're wanting to solve.
Sure, Adi. Thanks for having me, first of all. And one of the first reasons why I started PitchBerry is because I have a bit of high anxiety and ADHD. And so public speaking and speaking to people was a difficult task for me. So what PitchBerry actually identifies is, or sorry, solves is anytime you have a conversation that affects your job. Say, for example, you have a job interview, or you have, say, as a doctor, you want to talk to a patient to properly understand what the diagnosis or the illness is, and then figure out the diagnosis. Or, the other major example is police officers talking to suspects and applying different tactics to understand what they have, to get the right information out of the suspects and see what can come out. That was the whole problem that we are solving for. And what Pitchberry does is it gives you a platform where you can load in scenarios to practice. It gives you immediate feedback. It gives you feedback on not just your conversation and your tone, but also feedback on what was the scenario like. Did it actually work from a perspective of the other person, and was it did the right techniques get delivered, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome, awesome. And so a lot of founders, they start with technology. So from what I understood, you
Yep.
saw a problem first and you wanted to build something around it. So did PitchBerry start with
Yep.
AI capability, or did it start by observing how bad humans were when it comes to these conversations, and then go about solving it?
So it started way before. I started thinking about the problem and trying to solve it many years ago. And the way I wanted to solve it is just having topics, just scraping the web and trying to figure out how I can solve this problem without using AI. I mean, at that point, AI was not even that famous, or it was ChatGPT hadn't come out, so the world was a different place back then. And so I kind of got, I tried to build something which really didn't work. I'm not a programmer or a developer. So I had partnered with another founder in this incubator program called Antler, and we kind of tried to solve it together. But unfortunately, due to personal reasons, the co-founder had to leave, and I couldn't build the platform alone. So got a job. But then once AI was getting better and AI started helping with a lot of the things that I was doing anyways during my day job, I figured, oh shit, this is really good. And maybe I should quit the job and start trying to program things on my own. And it's been a year and a half now, and I quit my job. Uh, I've built the entire platform with the help of AI. And yes, AI is, I can't say AI didn't do anything. AI is pretty much everything that my platform does. So.
Yeah, it's amazing the things we are able to do these days with AI. And yeah, I read in an article somewhere that because of AI, a lot of new products, a lot of new ideas will go into production because of how easy it is.
Yep.
So, what do you think your approach would be when it comes to since everyone here around has AI, but what do you want to do different with AI, and how do you see yourself, going past that? Hey, it's just an idea stage.
Uh, at this point, I don't think you can say it's just an idea stage, because if you have an idea, you can tell it to any number of tools and it will immediately push out some sort of a prototype, working prototype.
Mhm.
And so I think that is very, very powerful. So if you have an idea, you don't even need a day to see see it working in an MVP stage at least, and then you can obviously modify it. Yeah, but I think how I wanted to take the whole approach was not using AI to replace humans, using AI to actually help humans better themselves. So that's everything we do at PitchBerry, and that's the whole company's main focus is to help humanity communicate better. That's
Amazing. So
yeah.
you strive by the saying that AI won't take your job, but people who know how to use AI will definitely take your job.
Uh, yes, I mean I do believe that, and probably a lot of jobs might. And it's a very different technology. Nobody knows
Nobody
what
knows
the
where
new
it
AI
will be as well.
exactly. So it's a very big unknown. But where we wanted to differentiate ourselves, especially with PitchBerry, is make sure that no matter how advanced AI gets, the core of what we are is communication, and we wanted to keep that communication going, and we wanted to help everyone. Even so, one of the end goals and of PitchBerry is once we have a lot of users and customers, the end goal is to provide it for people with speech speech delays, speech issues, and help even parents talk to kids and all that kind. So there are many verticals, but first we need to solve it for the bigger market, and then understand how we want to enter the other verticals.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Speaking of, when you said parents, you are also wanting to teach parents on how to talk to their kids. And I know a few parents, myself, who would be awesome or who will be looking forward to this. And it's amazing how things change over generations, and I'm sure Pittsburgh will keep up with it. What I'm trying to say is, parents back in the day, before my generation, if a kid misbehaves, they used to just give him a fat smack and it's like, hey, be in line.
Yeah,
And in
yeah,
my generation, well, I mean, no more hitting. In our generation, no more hitting, but they still used to be stern. And these days,
yeah,
I see kids talking back to their parents and yelling at the parents even. So it's, yeah,
yeah,
it's something that changes with every generation, and I think that is a definite amazing use case for Pittsburgh. Yes. So in
yeah.
those
So
lines, go on. Yes, sorry.
oh, sorry. No, first of all, I just wanted to correct a small thing there. That
Yes.
one, I don't teach parents how to talk because I don't know how to talk to parents to kids. I We actually look at research and papers and proper parenting techniques, and then we make sure that every technique that is added into the platform is verified manually to make, and also every time it is applied to a parent, we make sure that the feedback is taken and see if whether if it was effective and how effective and all that. So it's it's not a generic AI giving parents advice. It is backed by science and backed by a lot of studies that were done.
That's way that was gonna be my question on how where you get the data from, but like how do you actually train it? And yeah, but glad you answered that. Yes. So now, Dilip, walk me through a realistic session in PitchBerry. Say I'm a user preparing for a difficult conversation. What happens
Mhm.
from start to finish?
Sure. So let's say you're a student who's studying to become a therapist.
Mhm.
And the reason why I selected that specific use case is because we are currently targeting enterprise, not enterprise, educational institutes, because that's where we can actually integrate into a curriculum and properly make a difference. So going back to the example, say you want to become a therapist, you go to this university, the university has integrated with PitchBerry, you sign up, and you will see in your dashboard, whatever platform you're using, whatever LMS the university uses, you will see PitchBerry in there. And that's what we do is we take the lessons or the chapter materials or the subject materials that the professors have added into their LMS, and then we create scenarios for a specific session. So, for example, yesterday the professor would have taught you something about anxiety and how to cope, how to talk to a patient who comes with high anxiety and how do you manage that. And there was a specific technique that was taught. Now, as a student, you go into the PitchBerry. There would be a couple of scenarios. You pick one, and it gives you a detail about a patient before you start. So it says there's a patient who is 28 years old, male, Australian, and he's had this background. How do you cope with, have a conversation and understand and apply these techniques? And and then you start. Now, what happens is it would be like a Zoom call where there would be someone on the other side. We haven't enabled video as of yet, but we can. But it the patient then talks to you using uh, using the device's speakers. It will talk to you like you're on a Zoom call, and it basically pretends to be a patient. And what you do is you apply the techniques and the methodologies that were taught to you yesterday and try to understand the patient. And it goes on for like probably 10, 15 minutes, however long the professors wanted you to practice for. At the end of it, it gives you a detailed report of one, how did you do? Did you apply, mainly did you apply all the techniques that were taught yesterday? Second, how empathetic you were. And there are a couple of things that are standard, but then the main criterias that we look for in each scenario is the the criteria that the professor is looking for from that specific session or subject. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, 100%. So from what I understand, you're planning to, of course, you're planning to after every week of teaching, you're planning to have different, so to say, sessions where the student has to use the previous week's learning material to make sure that he passes with PitchBerry or anything like that, right?
Yeah, and just to give your audience a bit more context of how it actually works right now
Mm-hmm.
and why we are solving that problem first, is
Mm-hmm.
because right now, after every session, say you have a lecture this week, say you have a lecture next week, what happens is the university hires professional actors to come into the university and the actors pretend to be a patient, and they have the conversation
Mhm.
with each student. Either that, or you practice it with a peers and they pretend to be a patient. So
Mhm.
eventually what happens is all these sessions are monitored by the professor, and the professor has to give and remember what each of these people said, and then also give them feedback on how they did. Now what happens usually is, most of the time, it's biased. It's
Mhm.
subject to how attentive the professor is with each student, and it's probably, they're just looking for specific things within the conversation. And second, it is expensive for the university to hire actors, and third, it is not very convenient for the students to keep practicing. It's not a safe space. They're getting judged either by their peers or by the professor or the actor. So it's a very, it's a very tricky place. And so that's why PitchBerry helps become that platform where you can practice any number of times before you actually submit your session to the professor.
Mhm.
So it's a safe space. Nobody else sees it. It's just you. And and then once you submit it, the professor can go through the report that AI has provided and edit it and review it, and then give any other additional feedback that probably the AI would have missed. And I'm not saying AI is
Mhm.
perfect, so AI can make mistakes, and so that's why the professors can definitely go through the recording and or the AI notes and provide a bit more detailed feedback if needed.
Great. I actually did not know that universities, they hire professional actors, or someone to come in and pretend to be a patient. What are some other industries in the teaching sector in universities?
Mhm,
What are some
mhm.
some other schools of business, or like medical? We were just talking about medical. What are some other industries where universities use these technique, and where Pitchbury can benefit them?
So a couple of our main target customers are universities that teach therapy, counseling, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of courses where, for counseling, therapy, psychiatry, communication is very, very important. And they
Mm-hmm.
do teach communication. It's not that they don't teach, but there's not a safe space for kids to practice and um, to better themselves over time. It's just that one or two times that they do it with these actors or peers. The second, so that was one. Doctors have to go through a similar thing where they have to practice with patients. Then next is dentistry. Again, all of these are medical. I understand that, but these are very separate things when you
Mm-hmm.
actually look into it.
Yes.
And um, we have police academy. So police officers have to go through trainings, and they also have a similar setup where actors are called in and the actress pretending to be a suspect and all that. Now, even after Pitchberry, it is still going to be probably important to have such actors come in and do these things, because the body language and everything, there are other factors to it. But just the communication piece, you can practice any number of times, and and that too in a safe space, and then be really good at every technique or every methodology that's taught for that specific course.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I went on a tangent, but the other industry that we are looking at is law schools. Again,
Mm-hmm.
um, they have scenarios where they act as if it's a court and things like that, and the lawyers, they have to make sure that they convince the pretend jury that the suspect or their client is innocent,
Yeah.
or the other person is guilty, whatever the case is.
Awesome. And I was also thinking how PitchBerry would, you know, help kids these days, because I have a niece who's like 5 years old, who
Mhm.
can who can do like heaps of things on a mobile phone when you give
Yep.
her one. But I can see it's a bit more difficult for her to talk to real people, and and I can see
Yes.
it only getting worse, where kids can't continuously text, and even they don't call each other. I mean, it's almost like
Mm.
as if they'll judge people who are calling them. And
Yep.
with your video use case, I can see how it would directly benefit them in improving their soft skills, because they don't have to be very worried that it's a live person in front of them. Well, it is not, but it's almost a live person in front of them. So,
Yeah. So there's that, to be honest, that is a very tricky space. It
mhm,
And we are trying a lot to understand the space and make build enough data so that we can enter the space. But one is, you know, it's a lot to do with the new generation, and a lot to do with culture. Um, but the kids are moving away from phone calls, which is not something probably PitchBerry can solve. But what what we are trying to do is have the reason, and I'll tell you the reason why we probably cannot solve it, and maybe we can in future. But the reason is that kids are not they so you say someone once is always on the texting and not speaking out loud. Now, if you give them an app called PitchBerry to practice how to call, they're not going to do it. If they wanted, they could have just called their friend. So the motivation to actually pick up the phone and call, or pick up the phone and talk to someone, that motivation is what is lacking. And that's not something that at least right now, I don't have any idea how to do that. uh, but if I do, I think that's going to be a much bigger product than Fishberry.
so the bottom line is, yeah, kids are gonna be kids.
Kids are going to be kids, but where we are focusing, and as I was saying in the beginning, is kids with speech difficulty, which is not any kid. There are specific kids who who find it very difficult to just speak, and the parents themselves have no idea how to talk to these kids. So they have occupational therapists, they have other speech trainers and all that kind of stuff. But again, that's very limited. And plus, the parents themselves, when they talk to the kid, they want to talk in you know there should be certain methodologies that follow when they talk to the kids. And so right now, our main focus is to get an understanding of, how do you engage this kid who wants to speak but cannot, or how do you get a kid who has autism, for example, to actually look at the camera or look at the laptop and start talking. Right now, we are not there yet, but that is where we want to get, and also help parents actually talk to these special kids, because you can't talk to them in, just like another kid. There are methodologies and ways that you can talk, and we're still in the process of collecting the data for it.
Awesome. Uh, so Dilip, now I think we have to address the elephant in the room. So,
Yep.
what exactly is the difference between practicing with ChatGPT or any other general AI and
Mhm.
practicing with PitchBerry?
That is one of the most commonly asked questions that I get asked. But our main differentiator is the data, the the feedback. And so you ask a generic AI to give you a feedback, it will probably give you good feedback. And it's pretty good at it as well. But our feedback is the tone, which probably not all AIs can do that. We are also working on facial expression monitoring, which is basically at some point you will get feedback on how your eye contact was and all that. And mainly, currently, our main differentiator is the data that we get from the institutes that we work with. So, for example, we are currently working with an institute in Singapore, and we get their data so that their clients or their students can practice, and the feedback that they get is using that data. It's their methodologies, and um, it's their creation. And so what we do is the IP of that data still remains with them. We do not use it to train any of our AI because that is their IP. What we provide is use that to give feedback on how they did during that specific session. And 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 then we retain the IP of the voice and the feedback and everything else. The other differentiator of why it is different from generic AI is the improvement scale. So this PitchBerry monitors how you're improving over time, whether it is just on the subjects that you were taught, or whether it's your tone, your empathy, and hopefully in the near future, we will have how your facial expressions are changing as well. So that's mainly how we differentiate ourselves. But then the other thing, the most simple answer is you don't have to prompt every time you want to create a scenario for yourself. And so for the individual users, so forgetting the institutes for a second, we also target individual users, especially we used to target dentists for a while, sales guys, and startup founders. Now, startup founders, they can practice their pitching using PitchBerry. So they can upload their pitch deck and they can actually talk to an investor just like a normal conversation. While creating the investor's persona, they can add their LinkedIn, they can add what type of investor they are. If they know anything about the investor, they can add it in, and the persona and the questions that the conversation would be very tailored to that.
Mhm.
So again, you can do that with generic AI, but again, you have to keep prompting. You have to keep to make sure that the persona is correct and all that. We have a lot of guardrails and a lot of the what do you call it, guidelines that are there to make sure that the persona that is created is sounds very natural, is very authentic, sticks to the personality and all that stuff. And as a startup founder, you get to see how much you've improved over time. And i I mean, if you had seen me 3 years ago, I would not have been able to do this pitch or this podcast, for example. But I've practiced a lot, and like I said, I kind of built it for myself. So
Mhm.
and I might not be doing well according to a lot of people, but from what I was, it's unbelievable that I can talk so much.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a testimonial in itself, man. Like you
Yeah, it's a testimonial which I can't put on my website because there's like, this is the creator. He's just
doesn't,
selling his
but
product.
that it doesn't make it untrue. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations. You're doing awesome. And
Thank you.
I can already see how PitchBerry when put to proper use is of benefit. You know, and from what I understand from your conversation, ChatGPT or any other AI is more like a short-term friend who would just, you know, who will take inputs and you know, help you out with that situation, while PitchBerry is more of an actual therapist who understands you, gives you proper scientific, science-backed feedback,
Yeah.
and you know, it takes you constantly on the upward path of improving your speaking. So
Yes.
that's awesome. Yes. Were you saying something? I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to make something clear, so that the platform is not misunderstood.
Yes, please.
PitchBerry is kept separate from the parenting and the tool that helps parents and kids, just because we wanted to make sure that PitchBerry, because the it's both have a very separate direction, even though the um, both the platforms uh, are helping people communicate better. The
Mm-hmm.
one is towards helping parents actually just connect better with their kids, and the other is helping professionals communicate better with at their job mainly. And so the science backed, what do you call it, the science backed feedback and the methodologies provided is with for the parents
Mm-hmm.
feedback. For the Pitchberry, and so I'm going to tell you so it's still in progress, but it's called tween.au.
Okay.
That is the parenting platform,
Mm-hmm.
tween.au. So that tween is TWEEN.
Okay.
It's basically, yeah. So like tween.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Pitchberry is, like I said, it's because it's focused at different educational institutes. The data backed feedback is part of that institution's data. So we wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
take the rights of that institute and say,
Mm-hmm.
gather all that information and give you feedback. No, we will
Mm-hmm.
still give only the students of that institute the feedback from that data.
Mm-hmm.
And for individuals like startup feedback, what we have added is we have gone through, it is, we've gone through a lot of articles and videos and put a lot of methodologies and things like that are there in the feedback, um, if that makes sense.
Yes, 100%. And I had one question. So with these institutions' data, where is the data stored?
So we'll have a different, it depends on what the institute wants.
Yeah.
So some of the some institutes want it stored within their own servers.
Yes.
The institute in Singapore, they don't mind where we store it,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be within Singapore. So we have a different instance within Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we don't, and we, a lot of times we just use APIs if they have it
Mm-hmm.
to collect the data from their LMS.
Awesome. And at this stage of PitchBerry, Dilip, where
Mhm.
yes, you have found some markets that you know you can cater to,
Yeah.
but at this stage, what is harder? proving new markets, or is it scaling the actual product?
It's actually a very good question. Both are hard, but so you said proving market, yeah? Proving
Yeah.
a new market is I mean, it takes a lot to understand a new market.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that would be our priority at the moment
Mm-hmm.
because we've already identified a couple of markets which we think PitchBerry will really fit into.
Mm-hmm.
So so we are pretty unique in a lot of these verticals, and I think that's a big motivation you can say
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
me to expand in other regions other than
Mm-hmm.
Australia. So again, last week here, I met a lot of people who are building amazing products, and a lot of them said they've never heard anyone use this technology for these specific verticals. There are a lot of apps out there who help you train for. If you don't know already, I mean, when I say you, I mean the audience. You should.
Yes.
There's a lot of uh, there's a lot of apps out there that help you with job interviews. So I've got a lot of questions about why don't you do job interviews? A lot of people are struggling with that. That is something that Fishberry can do. And the reason we have not looked at that is because there's already a lot of people in the market,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, you know, it's it's a very one crowded space. We cannot monitor the progress of how the platform did that platform actually help them or not. We want to make sure that we can measure our success with a specific user, because we want to make sure that they are much better communicators than they started. And with a job interview platform, at least from what I'm thinking, it's it's a platform where you get a job and then you forget everything about it, right? And until then, again, you want to find a new job. So that's a very that's why I'm not a big fan of that. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of that market. It is a massive
Mm-hmm.
market.
Mm-hmm.
Just personally, with my vision, it doesn't fit right.
Right. Amazing. And yeah, as you rightly put, Pitchberry, it stands for something much bigger than your generic use cases. You're trying to solve a bigger, a harder problem. And so, a fun question.
Mhm.
Do you see do you see AI simulation becoming a part of professional accreditation? So, do you see universities having students pass, say, Pitchberry's scores for to make them eligible to get a degree? Maybe universities,
Oh
maybe
man, I would
maybe
love that.
police training.
I would love every university to use Pitchberry to score their kids, and I hope that comes true. But I honestly, to answer your question, it is a very difficult um, uh, period for even for universities, because the the traditional way of understanding how much a student has actually uh, understood
Gathered.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and sorry, lack of better word. And
Yeah.
but so just to know how this what the student has properly understood, it is very difficult to do that right now, because now they can look up ChatGPT. Earlier there were tools like Turnitin where plagiarism could be detected easily, and probably there are other tools that can do it still. But when AI can write it in all types of ways, and
Yes.
you you're not. It's very hard for educational institutes to actually figure out how much the students have learned. So, I personally think there's going to be a massive change in how education will, look in the future. Uh, Probably the ways of essays and exams might go away because essay from a very long time, and this is a very very personal opinion. And I hope
Mm-hmm.
nobody gets offended, but it is. I find it essays to be like, hey, you're writing your thought, but then you're also looking at how to format it, making sure that uh, the
Mm,
grammar is correct, making sure that, okay, even if the grammar is correct, now I have to make sure that there's no plagiarism associated with it, all that kind of stuff. And more than putting your thought, yeah, I mean, you are definitely putting your thought into it, into creating that essay, but a lot of the times it's just other things other than the subject. So I think it's going to be a very different world once, probably even going back to oral exams or just talking 5 minutes about how what you think about the subject, and that would help you get better marks. I don't know. It's a very interesting thing to think about, but pretty much everyone who thinks about that would be wrong because you never know what AI is going to do next.
100%, man. And I share your personal opinion. I mean, I remember back in the day when I had to do university assignments, mate. I'm solving the problem for you. I don't care what line spacing I have to use, what indentation
Yeah,
I have to use. It's
yeah,
it's not worth it. But yeah, it's just
yeah.
something that we guess have to do.
That's and sorry if I'm going on a tangent,
Yeah,
but it is a very interesting topic to keep chatting about. I But one thing I wanted to bring into this thing is, you had to. I don't know if you had to go through this, but at least when I was studying, you had to make sure that your letter writing skill is properly formatted. You had your uh, emails properly formatted with from to, all
yeah,
that kind of stuff. But the whole world's changed in the way we even write emails. It's just come to the point. And earlier it was, hi, this is the point. How are you? How was your weekend? And all that. And then now you just type in a bunch of the points that you really want to communicate with them, put it into some sort of an AI tool, and it writes the remaining crap, for lack of
yes.
better word, which is not really necessary, but it conveys the message, and it gives a format, and yeah, but then that's the thing. So the way the world is going, people are people might worry less about formatting and more about basically what is the point that you want to communicate, and whether it's through writing or in the space where I am, where how do you communicate and how do you tell the story in a more engaging and powerful manner, that is which I am still to learn, and not say I'm not good at it yet. But I want to get there, where using PitchBerry, I improve my storytelling as well as I help other people improve their storytelling as well.
Amazing. Let's hope the world is heading to the better place that we just talked about. And it's very exciting to have this episode with one of the people who's in the forefront of he- taking the world to this better new place where people's thoughts are communicated more clearly, people have amazing skills, and people can really tell each other what they mean, and be better at doing the important stuff, and not the stuff that's not necessary. So I guess
Yeah.
that's a great place to wrap. Dilip, it was legendary talking to you.
Oh,
And
thanks, man.
I'm
Thanks for
sure
having me.
once, no worries. And yeah, I'm sure I will be using PitchBerry to improve my podcast skills as well. Uh,
Actually,
so
mate, that's actually a good idea. Actually, I should. I mean,
maybe,
I should have practiced using PitchBerry as well. Using a, I should. That's a good. That's a really good. I might
yeah,
actually put it out there if you want to practice for podcasts.
yeah. See, this is exactly what this podcast is about, man. Just having
Yeah,
conversations and
yeah,
new ideas come up. Yeah, sometimes amazing ideas come up, and yeah, I can be a test case for podcast people. If you ever
that would
want
be
a
amazing.
product for podcast, it's a
Yes,
very niche segment, and I believe, yeah, it definitely has a use case. But that's an amazing place to wrap. To all the listeners out there, I will add links to Pitchberry and Dilip's socials and everything on the descriptions. So please feel free to check it out. Feel free to reach out with Dilip as well. And from what I know, he will never say no to an amazing conversation.
absolutely.
So, Dilip, thanks for being here. Thanks for the amazing work that you're doing, and all the best.
Thanks a lot, Adi. It was a pleasure, and you're a pretty good host, huh? I mean, I don't think you need to have used PitchBerry. You're pretty good at it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.